Hi, this is Massimo, and in this video I'm going to talk about fixture groups. So fixture groups are in this menu and are represented as a carton box. Universes are itself basically represented as groups, default groups. You can see them as such. I have prepared project getting a little bit more complicated with a few moving heads, a few bars, and a few bars that I will use as strobe bars. In the 3D preview, they look like this. I have already oriented a little bit bars, rotated the moving heads. Basically, I have a very simple stage, but with some lights to have some fun. So the complication of having more and more complicated views is about selecting fixtures because, as I mentioned before, version 5 introduces a visual approach of programming. So when I select fixtures like this, as in a 3D view is very complicated to every time select each fixture, and as well in the 2D view, even if I have some rectangular selections, some helpers. So in this case, fixture groups comes handy for the simple reason that I can use them basically to pack fixtures together in basically a logical way. So to create a group, I just need to select some fixtures. I can select them individually like this, or I can basically select by rectangular here. And then I click on add a new fixture group. The fixture group will appear here as a new group with a default name. And QLC Plus will try as much as possible to represent the actually the visual layout of each group. So in this case, to edit the group, I can go to the item editing, and here I will have my group represented as basically each cell represents an emitter or a head. So like this, I have universe 1, address 1, head 1 of this moving head, and so on. So this is basically the group editor. I can give it a name like, I don't know, back group. And I am happy with it, so I can proceed to create another one. So if I select, for example, the other moving heads like this, as you can see, it's quite tedious, but with a fixture group, I have all my Sharpies in another group. I can rename also from here, like a Sharpie group, like this. And then I will group my bars. I can select them also from here, like this. And again, I will call it like bar group. And then finally my bars, like this, like a stroke group. Now, this is a logical grouping, and it serves also as immediate selector of a group of fixtures. So for example, if I'm editing and I want to immediately select all my bars, I can do this, strobe group, Sharpie group, and the back group. And this will come very handy when I will start to create scenes. But also another interesting function of groups is for RGB matrix, which will be treated in a separated video. And in that case, the actual layout of fixtures is very important. For example, if I select, again, I want to select all my moving heads in this case, like this, and I will create a new group called, for example, let's go editing it. I will call it as all moving heads. As you can see, QLC tried to represent my layout as a group, placing the emitters more or less in the position of my fixtures in the real space. I'm not happy about these holes, for example, so I can do something like this. I can select my individual emitter. In this case, they are actually fixtures, and I can move them around in the editor like this. This is a quite handy feature of version 5 that wasn't present in version 4, where you had to move each head individually. You cannot create groups, etc. And I can resize it to the exact size. So in this group, I will have a placement of all my moving heads. So if I launch an RGB matrix on this group, it will play on this layout exactly like this, and therefore it will play on all my moving heads in this position. So grouping is basically this, but with an exception about multi-emitters fixtures, like the stroke group that I've created. These are bars with 16 emitters. And when I created the group, QLC Plus laid out them as a single line group. So what if I want to put them in, for example, 5 separated lines? So I will change the group size, and I will reset it, and I will add the fixtures basically manually like this. So I can resize the group 16 by 5, and I have re-layout the group very quickly in this way manually. I have also some helpers. For example, in this case, the generic par group. So for example, if I make it a little bit larger, I can select all my heads, and then I have some helpers to rotate the whole thing by the desired number of degrees, like this. As you can see, it's laid out, it has visual layout, so I can move it like this. I can replace the heads. There are a lot of operations that I can do very quickly with this new editor, version 5, like this. Same for the Sharpie group, has been created like this. So I can re-layout it. And so on. So basically, grouping is a helper for the programming workflow, but is also a way of representing a visual layout that will be very useful later when I will make a video about RGB matrices. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Ciao.